Welcome back once again to howtocookgreatfood.com if you haven't already. It will be really good if you could click that button and subscribe to our channel. On the menu today we're going to make a beef curry. But before we get started I just wanted to show you this beef. The beef I'm using today is not the best quality, should we say. It's a real kind of stewing meat, and that is why it's got that sauce on it. That sauce actually is just raw papaya that I've grated and added to it. It's a great tenderizer. I'll leave a link for that video explaining why you would do that. If you've got a decent cut of meat, there's no need for you to do this. But yeah, papaya is a fantastic tenderizer for all meat pretty much. So this is, I'm going to go straight in with that. I just thought I'd show you this before I get loads of emails of you asking me what the hell is that. So this is papaya that's been put into the beef and left for about 3 to 4 hours. It will really soften it and make it beautifully sweet. Let's get over to the cooker. Okay, so let's get started. I've got a nice decent sized pan and I've got a little bit of sunflower oil in there. You can use any oil you like. We're going to start off by putting in some whole garam masala. So I've got some dried red chili. I've got some cumin seeds, poppies, black mustard seeds, sorry, cardamom. In it all goes. And there's a few cloves in there, just so you know, a few little cloves. All I want to do is just let them pop and crackle at the moment and infuse that little bit of oil. It's only going to take a few seconds. And now we're going to add our meat. And like I say, this is our meat with our papaya. If you haven't used papaya, don't worry, just follow the same process with your natural beef. So what we're going to do now this has calmed down a little bit, I'm going to cook this for about 3 to 4 minutes, perhaps on a high heat, stirring all the time. I just want to kind of get it sealed a little bit, get some of those spices happening, then we'll move on to the next stage. Here we go. As you can see, the meat has changed colour. Nowhere near cooked, of course, yet. At this stage, I'm just going to add some water. As you can see, just enough to kind of slightly cover it. Now on a high heat, what I'm going to do now is pop a lid on. We're going to bring that to a boil. Once it's boiled, or reached boiling point, we're then going to simmer it for about 15 to 20 minutes. Like I say, the cut of meat that I'm using today is very fatty, like a kind of a round or a chuck or a stewing beef. Again, you can use this process of the papaya, which is going to give this a fantastic flavour. It really is. It's really part of the flavour of this dish, and it really will kind of break down the enzyme in it called a papain. Will break down that meat and make it a little bit more succulent. Let's do that. I'll be back at that point, then we'll move on to the next stage. Okay, so that was like 15 minutes. This is giving it a great chance to kind of stew and get really nice and soft, because that's what we're trying to get this meat to be. At this point I'm going to add some fresh curry leaves, optional, because I know a lot of you can't get these, but they are fantastic really. We're also at this point going to add some powders and some salt. So in there I've got equal parts of chili powder, salt, turmeric, cumin powder and coriander powder. So in they go. There's like a kind of teaspoon of each maybe. Let's give that a mix. Now you can, if you want, as I always say, use your own or favourite curry powder, which is already mixed. But for me, I prefer it like that. So, with the lid off now, turn the heat back up to high. And let's cook this for about another 10 minutes. We want to kind of evaporate some of the liquid off now. We're not going to get rid of all of it, but we'll get rid of a fair amount. Then we can move on to the next stage. Stir often. So as you can see, that has reduced down somewhat, and still a bit of liquid in there. We're not going to get rid of all of it, like I say. And at this point, we're now ready to put in some onions. So I've got some red onion I'm using today. In that goes. Now again, with the lid off on a high heat, we're going to cook this for about another 5 to 6 minutes. Stirring all the time because it's going to get really dry now. We want to cook those onions. I don't want them boiled. That's why we reduce the liquid. We need to fry them. So I'll be back then and we'll move on. We're not far off now, it being done. Okay, this is frying beautifully now. Now this might seem like a long-winded way of making this curry, but if you want nice tender meat, this is the way to do it really. Otherwise you're going to end up with really kind of chewy beef, and I personally really don't want that. I want it nice and tender. At this stage I've got some fresh tomato which I've chopped, and in they go. We can just leave them on the top like that. No need to stir that. We're going to put the lid back on here. Let that go for about 3 or 4 minutes. What should happen is, depending on the ripeness of your tomatoes, is they will break down and give off some moisture, which will create a gravy for us. If they're not juicy enough, then we're just going to add some water. I'll be back then. Okay, let's jump in and take a look now. Let me get some of that steam out. There you go. I've got some nice moisture happening there. Now we can mix this in. And like I say, if you haven't got the moisture that you require, just add a little touch of water, it's fine. So let's stir this in and let those tomatoes break down. I'm now going to add, I mean again optional, up to you. I've got some fresh green chilli here. Entirely up to you how many you put in there. But I'm going to put that down to a simmer now. Lid's going to go back on. I'm going to let that go for about another 15 minutes. Give it a stir every now and then. Right, the last stage, let's take a look. Let me let some steam out of there for you. So we've got a beautiful sauce on there, or masala or gravy. Check that for salt. You might want to add a touch more, that's up to you. But that meat now is really nice and tender. It's beautifully tender. It's going to melt in your mouth, that is. So off goes the heat. And I'm going to finish this off with some fresh coriander or cilantro, whatever you call it. Give that a mix. And there you go, got a lovely, tender beef curry. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you again soon. Lots of love.